Hello all, welcome to oratrainings.com. In this session, we'll discuss about LLM, large language model. So let us understand what it is and we'll design a very simple program to understand the LLM also. So now, yeah. So what is LLM? So in simple terms, an LLM, nothing but a large language model, it's just a computer program which can understand and write the response in a human understandable format, and it is trained on huge amount of data. It can be a textbooks or websites, article, research papers, so on. Or it can be a private database also. That is a very different story, but yeah. So ideally, it's just a books, website, articles, kind of things. So, and one more very important thing is like when you say LLM, it is not an end user application. Okay, so, a model is just an engine. Okay, so like when you buy a car, in the car you have an engine, but the engine itself is not the car, right? So of course the car does not work with the engine. The same way the generative AI, in the generative AI concept, without LLM there is no generative AI at all. Okay, so the core of a generative AI is LLM. So LLM is nothing but generally we also call it as model. It is not the app, but the main core engine behind the app that makes the language understanding and generation possible. So the LLM takes the input, it processes, analyzes, tokenizes, detokenize, and then provide the response. So LLM is the main engine which is responsible for that. So we would have seen already the couple of chat like apps like generative AI apps like a chat GPT or Gemini. So for every particular app which you have used the generative AI app, you have LLM behind it. So you can observe a couple of like the chat based apps in the generative AI concept. Maybe you can have seen the chat GPT. So here, if you observe, the chat GPT uses a model called GPT-4, and the company which is designing the GPT-4 LLM is OpenAI. Similarly, you can see the model name Claude 3, which was designed by Anthropic, and it is generally have its own set of API. So Gemini, we know the Gemini AI, which is there in the Google website or Gmail everywhere, right? It is done by the Google, and the model name is Gemini 1.5. And you can see the sixth one, which will have a sample design in this one. So the Cohere is the company which is designing, which has a model called Command R Plus, and which is mostly used by the enterprises for the like LLM purpose, the generative AI purpose. Okay. So now let's see some more information. So LLM is a three-letter word, right? Large language model. So large means it is trained on a huge amount of data. Okay, innumerable data of data, and then a language. So it is mainly concentrated on the generation of the content, right? So when you say a generation of a content, that is mainly used by humans. So if at all of a content to be utilized by humans, definitely it has to be in an understandable format and in their particular language. Let us say if I am from India, I especially feel that I need the content in my mother tongue or maybe English or Hindi or Telugu, right? So definitely you require the content to be in your particular language. That's the reason it has the language also. And then the model, the core engine of this one, nothing but a program, I can say. In the software terminology, when you say a program, like any working application, definitely it's a program. So the model is nothing but the computer brain that understands and generates a language. So it's like engine inside a smart assistant. So large language and model, this is what LLM is all about. Now what exactly we do it for? So why do you use LLM, right? So we know that it answers the question and it generates the content. It also summarizes a document. You can provide an 100-page document or 100-page book and say that what is the summary of this book. Yes, it will provide the information for you, and you can use it for translation purpose. And it can also act like a chatbot, like a question and answer kind of thing. So in the chatbot, generally when you say a digital assistant or a chatbot, it may not have a generative AI concept. It has a couple of questions which are already pre-designed and you'll get an answer. But in the chat GPT kind of AI enabled chat bot or AI generative AI enabled chat application, it does not have any questions at all, but it has a pre-designed data. So you will get a response, the real-time response will get it. It's not a predefined answers kind of thing. It always validates the content in the specific database in which it uses, and it'll get a response. Okay. Now, how do we use it? Now, let us say we have been discussing about LLM, and we have seen the couple of companies which are providing the LLM, nothing but the engine. But as a developer, if you want to use the LLM or a generative AI concept in your particular application, then how can you use it, right? So there are three approaches. as far as I know. The first one is the API approach. Every particular organization which is providing the generative AI services, they provide a API for LLM. You can use it via web service kind of approach. And definitely it is a paid base and yes, subscription based kind of model will be there. Other one is a open source model wherein you can install the total LLM engine on your particular machine, and then you can just work on the research kind of thing. Of course, it requires huge amount of your hardware power, and definitely, like it depending upon your usage, yes, you can have this kind of model. Other one is it's like similar to our IaaS model, infrastructure as a service model. So you can have this particular LLM as a service-based model, like a Google provides Gemini LLM, Azure provides its own service, and even Oracle Cloud AI also provide its own services for the enterprise grade applications. Now, in our example today, we'll use the Cohere one. So the prerequisite for our sample to work is you require a Python and you require a Cohere API key, and you have to install the Cohere SDK. Nothing but the Cohere package in your local system. You can just see this command pip install Cohere. If at all, if you already have Python, make sure that you install this Cohere API. So let us see the sample script. So this sample script, what exactly it is doing is it just takes a question, like you can observe here line number 8, I just mentioned, please enter your question for the LLM. You provide the input, and then I'm sending this particular input to the Cohere API, co.chat, and the model name I mentioned is command R plus, and this is a message input I mentioned here. And it is sending a response saying that response.text. So based on the question which you ask, it generates a response. So we can just see this particular working example. Just go to my Python command prompt. Okay. So I'll just try to execute the command Python. And this is my package, the program, cohere sample.py. I'll just say, please explain about LLM in 3 lines, right? Let's see what exactly it provides. Can you see? It just provided the information, what we require in 3 lines only. Let us say, please explain about Diwali festival in 3 lines in Hindi. Let's see, what does it provide the answer or not? Perfect, right? So it is providing the information for us in Hindi also. So here, what exactly we are doing is it's a very, very simple program. So we are just taking the input, and you can observe the API key which I am passing, and the CO is the installation variable. Cohere is a package. Cohere.client. You just pass the API key, and this is just a sample static text for providing the user to provide the input. And input is a function in the Python which takes the input from the user command prompt, and the response is a variable, output variable. And here we are invoking the Cohere API co.chat, which is having 2 input parameters. We have to mention the model name and the message name. So model name, what exactly it means is like nothing but which LLM you want to use it. If at all, if you are using the chat GPT one, you have to mention that specific model name. If you are using Gemini, you have to mention the specific name. And every particular LLM has its own set of package. So here we have importing Cohere. If at all, if you want to use Gemini, you have to import the respective package, and it will have its own set of credential based logic you have to pass it. Okay, so this is what very simple program about invocation of a Cohere LLM using the Python. Okay, thank you.